This is the Word Welders podcast, all about the world of writing and writers. If you write, read, or just stream movies and TV, Word Welders is for you. We open a window into the workings of the writer's mind. Each episode explores how writers find ideas, where they get their creative spark, and what drives them to plunge into the realms of imagination. Whether fact, fiction, fantasy, drama, or comedy, it starts with a writer, and we're going to hear from the source in the Word Welders podcast. I'm your host, Scott Moss. Welcome to the third episode of Word Welders, Writers on Forging Imagination. In this episode, we're going to look at the world of the stage, particularly the musical. Today's guest comes to us as another writer from Tennessee Tech and a fellow student, Evan Kvalvik. Welcome to Word Welders.
Hey, thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Glad to have you as our third guest, and particularly for a subject matter we haven't touched on yet in any of our podcasts. So I really have to ask up front, you're not a music major. You're not an English major.
No.
Tell us a bit about what your field of study is and then what caused this departure into writing a musical theater project.
Sure. So I'm in electrical engineering major, and I'm a veteran. So I started school a little bit late, and I've always wanted to get into the electrical engineering field. However, when I was in the Navy, I did some writing. We had a lot of dead space on the submarine, so I filled that space with kind of writing, and that's where the writing came from. That's where the passion blossomed, you could say.
So great point. The scope of a musical is so broad. So a couple of things we want to get to. What brought this idea into your head with a musical? And then with all of the things that you have to do, you've got to think dialogue. You have to think where songs go. You have to envision how you stage the final product. What was your approach, and then how did you tackle those issues?
Okay. So this start from the beginning. I took a theater class this semester. I try to intersperse the fun classes with the more difficult ones. And there was one class where the professor he had us just talk about just anything. It was kind of like a fireside gathering where, what are some of the problems that you're having with school? What are some of the drawbacks? What are some of the more positive things? And one person mentioned the parking here at Tennessee Tech. And from there, I said, hey, what if we do a production on this? What if we make a play called Student Parking the Musical? And what if we just put all of our, all of these negative feelings and make fun of them and kind of have a light situation, kind of express that a little bit. And everyone thought it was a really good idea, or most people anyways. And so I went home, and took me a couple hours, and I wrote out the script. The music portion took another 2 weeks. I don't know if you've ever written a song before. Scott, have you written a song before?
I've attempted to, and I found out very quickly I'm a lyricist, not a composer.
Yeah. Yes. So it was new for me too. I've been playing the guitar and ukulele for, the better half of, 12 years or so. But I've never written a song. And so when I went to go write these songs for this musical, I really had to dig deep. I watched some musicals to kind of get some idea of what the actors were doing, and then I composed them. And there's this girl in our class, Bethany, and she's a music major, and she helped me put the music to these songs, and she helped realize this project, so to speak.
So that's a good question. Because everybody approaches it differently. I've heard interviews with Elton John and Tim Rice and people of that sort. What came first for you, the idea for the lyrics, or did you have a tune in your head and then said, well, let me work some words around that?
Yeah. One of the songs was just the melody first, and then I put words to it, and I just tried to make the words kind of match the situation, and it just came out phenomenally. There's another song where I just had the lyrics, and I couldn't figure anything out, so I brought it to Bethany, and I said, hey, I have these lyrics. We need to put music to them. And she said, all right, well, what do you want to do? And I just pulled out the ukulele and I just played some chords. And she said, all right, we can run with that. We had to adjust the lyrics for cadence, but it came out really, it's one of my favorite songs.
Oh, very good. So you do have a collaboration going on there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I could not have done this by myself.
Okay, wonderful. So along that same vein, what was the most difficult part as you started pushing forward with this idea?
That's a good question. The production aspect, I believe. So now I'm officially the director for this musical, and I've never directed a musical before. I just have a vision. It's part of my writing process. I see it in my head before I put it down on paper, and so I already know what this production should look like, but sharing my vision to other people and getting them on the same page and really focusing on their roles rather than focusing on how we could improve it. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Well, it does, because particularly in theater and television, and to some extent television, although not as much, film particularly is such a collaborative effort, and everybody contributes their own little piece. I've heard from screenwriters that were very attached to their works and people that did not want a single word changed once they put it on paper. And I've talked to other screenwriters and some very big names in the business that feel like their job as a screenwriter was just to basically be like a rough carpenter. They're the framers of the house, then everybody else comes in and puts on the molding and the drywall and the paint and the plumbing and the electricity to create that final product. Which describes you more?
So that's really funny. Definitely not the first one. So far, I have been working with the actors, and whenever we reach a point where some of the lines don't really flow very well, I'll say just, hey, scratch that line. We can change it, and they'll get mad at me because I was filling in for an actor today that didn't show up to practice, and I was changing the lyrics, I was changing the lines, and everyone got mad at me for not sticking to the script. And so I'm working on sticking to my own script. I guess it just comes from being the writer and the director. I feel like I'm allowed to change things in real time.
It's your baby.
Yeah.
So you have to birth it the way you want to. So all writers get stuck at some point. Things don't flow. You feel you're not headed in the direction you need to. Did you have those moments? And if so, how did you handle it?
Oh, absolutely not. As soon as we came up with so we had different ideas when we were discussing this musical. One of the ideas was to make the ticketing agent the bad guy, and I said, hey, look, we want to make this fair for everyone. They're just doing their job. We're just making fun of them. We're not trying to be like aggressive, or we're not trying to like put anybody down. Like, we want to portray him as a good character. So I made the ticketing agent the main character of this play, and I put kind of an existential badness on that person when I don't know if I should give this away, but there's a character that kind of represents the dark underlord that kind of trains her to be a jerk, and it's not her fault. So as soon as I had the concept in my mind, it just came so smoothly.
So, again, a follow up for that. So, was there any aha moments when you're doing this writing process, whether musically or on the script itself? One of those Eureka, I found it episodes.
There's there are several times during this play where the script and the surroundings couldn't necessarily match unless we added something or took it away. But there's a couple of times where we said, "Hey, as this person's singing this lyric, you walk to the car, you take it off stage, and then during this next line, you stand in this parking spot and claim it for your girlfriend." And I'm telling you, it was I didn't write it that way, but it worked out so well that it was just it was a really good feeling.
So, a couple questions related to
I don't know if that
that.
answered your question or
Well,
not.
no, it really does because we never know where these tangents sometimes are going to take us. So, has the project made you rethink your perspective on writing or writers? And a follow up to that, any chance you're going to do more of this?
Okay, that's a great question. So I found kind of a little bit later in life that the creative process is really what I enjoy doing. It's not necessarily writing a book, which I've written a book. It's not necessarily writing a continuation on Royal Road. It's not necessarily writing a musical. It's the creative process where I take my imagination and I put it down on paper. There's this book. It's probably the most influential book I've ever read. It's called The Artist's Way. And this book talks about how you need different aspects of your life to be fulfilled in order to be happy. Like you need to work at a job that you enjoy. You need to exercise. You need to keep your brain strong. You need to eat healthy. But also, something that we neglect is you need to create. And the more we create, the more we're flexing that creative muscle, which makes us more creative. So I kind of stumbled over those words a little bit. But it's as long as I keep the creative process a part of my life, then I'll go into electrical engineering and be perfectly fine and be happy and just keep making these things.
And if success comes with this,
Oh yeah, I'll absolutely quit my job.
yeah, so you'll be the John Grisham of musical
Oh,
theater.
100%.
Yes, absolutely. So, a couple others. What now? Where are we headed with the project? When can our listeners expect a premiere?
So we have reserved a spot for the Backdoor Playhouse on April 23rd at 3 p.m. So far, yeah.
Cool. And the title is
Student Parking the Musical.
Student Parking the Musical. Has writing it, this is totally wasn't in my list of questions, but I have to ask it now that it pops into my head. Has writing this given you any insights into student parking?
Yeah. Jeez. What kind of question is that? Yes. I mean, I guess, it came from insights and, yeah, I guess learning other people's perspectives has given me, more. So yes.
Okay, absolutely. So, really, that's it for us. A huge thank you to our guest, Evan, and it's been a terrific look at the inner workings of a theatrical mindset. We thank all of you for listening to Word Welders. Please share our links with your friends. We always welcome new listeners. And if you have an idea for an episode or just want to comment on what you hear on Word Welders, reach out on email to wordwelderspodcast@gmail.com. We'll be back soon with another episode. Hope you'll come join us as we continue to explore all things related to writers and writing. I'm your host, Scott Moss. See you then.